Hey, we're Wayne and LeAnn Thomas, and this is Anything Together.
Where we discuss marriage and life with a blended family through a Christian worldview. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 of the most important things a husband needs from his wife and some of the practical ways that we wives can meet those needs. You know, I think as a society, we talk a lot about the needs of women, our emotional needs, but men have needs too, and that's what we're going to talk about.
So we're glad you're hanging out with us today for episode 1 of the Anything Together podcast.
Yes, men have needs. Sometimes we as wives have a hard time identifying those needs because maybe our husbands aren't the talking type. I lucked out. You love to talk. But God didn't create us to live this life alone. He knew that men needed a partner. Genesis 2:18 says, "The Lord God said, 'It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him.'" So this is the first part of a 2-part series focusing on the most important things that husbands and wives need from one another. We'll cover the second part next week, detailing 5 important things that a wife needs from her husband.
But before we go any further, we want you to know that we realize no 2 marriages are the same. Just like you, we've walked our own unique life path through marriage. And while we've experienced the lowest of lows in our 19 years, we're now enjoying what we would both agree to be stability and maturity that comes from working hard on our relationship for many years.
Yeah. And we know that no 2 men are exactly alike either. But we do acknowledge that God, in his wisdom, created men to be quite different from women. So here are what we believe to be the 5 most important things that husband needs from his wife, in no particular order.
So number 1, he needs her friendship.
Your husband needs your friendship. Friendship is a huge part of our marriage. Many married people would say their spouse is their best friend.
You are my best friend.
That's right. Think of things that you would do with a friend and try to do those same things with your husband. Try to take interest in the things he's interested in. Buy some sports jerseys for the team that he loves and watch the games with him, or at least make some really good nachos for the game.
Yes.
That's the part I'm good at. Or you could go to lunch or coffee together on a regular basis.
Yeah, I need my wife's companionship. She and I meet for lunch all the time. So how do you cultivate a friendship? You spend time together, right? It's easy to get married and get into a rut where you aren't really spending time together or enjoying your spouse like you did before the wedding. It's incredibly important to love your spouse, but it's equally important to like them. Spending time together, laughing together, having that frequent FaceTime helps your bond to grow, and it reminds you daily how much you like each other.
Friends also confide in each other and talk about their goals and dreams. This is so much fun for us and helps us to really know each other in a deeper way. And so think of the things that he enjoys doing and see what kind of part you can play in that. Maybe you haven't really had the chance to develop a friendship with your husband yet. We think a good place to start is just to spend time together and find things that you both enjoy doing and just have fun together.
Yeah. All right, number 2, he needs her to admire him.
The definition of admire is to look upon or contemplate with great pleasure.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll just look at Wayne though, and he'll be playing with our kids or counseling them and giving them like advice on relationships and things. And I just feel impressed with how good of a dad he is. And it makes me really admire you in those moments. I also admire him for his work ethic and the way he provides for our family. I admire you for many things, actually. Having the admiration and respect of his wife fulfills one of the deepest needs that a man has.
You know, that's a really good way to say that. It does fulfill one of our deepest needs. And, you know, for me, your admiration or the absence of your admiration, it sends me strong signals that either I'm hitting the mark in that specific area or that I'm not. And I think subconsciously I sort of take that information and I use it as a gauge to know how I'm doing.
That kind of self-reflection is really important in marriage, and I actually really admire that about you too. The other half of this need is affirmation. When you feel admiration for your husband, let him know why. Don't keep it to yourself. Tell him what you admire about him and why. I believe that it'll mean a lot to him. Does that mean a lot to men when we tell you?
It totally does. And I was just thinking, so the application of admiration is affirmation.
All right, ladies. So affirm your husbands in this way. Our admiration of our husbands is foundational in their happiness and contentment.
So the third thing is he needs her to add peace to his life. Wives, you may not know this, but you have a special ability to be a peacemaker in your home.
Right. And one practical way to do this is by creating an atmosphere that is peaceful. So maybe some relaxing music at the end of the day while you're eating dinner, or snuggling up and watching your favorite show together once the kids are in bed. Those are a couple things that we've done. If he's feeling a lot of stress, though, just coming over and putting your hand on his shoulder, telling him that you love him can be a way to add peace. Another way that we can add peace to our husband's life is by trying to avoid conflict whenever we can.
Romans 12:18, it speaks perfectly to this point. It says,
Can you
I
read
can't
that?
see it. If it's possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. This really puts the responsibility on each of us to avoid conflict, steering clear of those things that can stir up arguments.
And so what does that look like? Well, first, I think just being purposeful with your words, thinking before we say things, being kind and thoughtful, not being easily offended, knowing your husband and believing the best in him. Look, we're going to offend each other, and we aren't going to have marriages without any conflict whatsoever. But when those moments come and you're thinking, oh, he did not just say that to me, instead of being easily offended, we can lead with, so can you explain what you meant by that? This is what I'm hearing you say. Is that what you really meant? I do ask Wayne questions like these because when I feel like maybe he has just said something without thinking of how it might come across, it can help avoid those pitfalls of conflict. Also, speaking with loving and patient words adds peace. If he's feeling a lot of pressure or stress, our tone of voice can be powerful to either add peace or compound that stress.
So true.
I know when I see that Wayne's stressed out or upset about something, if I react with, what the heck is wrong with you? It might not help him feel much peace. But if I just talk to him in a calmer voice and allow some quiet for him to process his thoughts and share them with me when he's ready, then I can be a much more effective support for him.
That's so good. And listen, that's not always easy to do, but there have been many times when your approach to me has totally de-escalated my stress and my anxiety.
Yeah.
It created a moment where I felt supported and loved.
With this particular need of being a wife who adds peace to your husband's life, it is so important to really know your husband and perceive when he's needing an extra dose of grace. And I promise when you give extra grace and understanding, it also makes you a more peaceful person too.
Indeed. Number 4, he needs her to appreciate him. I'm looking at you. I'm just kidding.
I think as wives, this is one that we say we need. We need to feel appreciated.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about this list of important needs. They really do apply to both husbands and wives.
Everybody needs to feel appreciated.
Of course they do. And I know how much you're doing for your families, ladies, and for your husbands. But just like you feel that deep need to feel appreciated, your husband also has this need. Men and women sometimes have different household jobs to do. And when they do them, we can show our appreciation. But this is not just about what he does around the house. It's about his love for you and the way he works to provide for his family. It's about his protection of you and your children. It's about his spiritual leadership and his prayer over you.
But it's also about all the gross stuff we have to do because no one else will do it.
There's truth in that. So what does showing appreciation look like? One way is by just thanking him for the things he does for you and your family, and then serving your husband by doing something thoughtful for him. But oftentimes, all we need to do is just tell our husband we appreciate him. I appreciate you for so many things. Thank him for all he does for you. And you might be saying, of course, he already knows I'm thankful for those things that he does. I don't need to say it. But there is power in saying, babe, I really do appreciate you for whatever, for fill in the blank.
It's sort of human nature. When we feel appreciated, it does make us want to do more.
So wives, let's appreciate our husbands for all they do.
All right, number 5. He needs her intimacy and affection.
Okay, you were expecting this one to be the first on the list, weren't you? It is true. Some men have a greater need for sex than their wives. Not every man, but some, maybe most. They're just wired differently. They just have different needs, and physical intimacy satisfies much deeper needs in a man than meets the eye. It offers validation, builds his self-confidence, it expands his sense of connection to his wife. And for us, it seems to be related to an ability in you to operate in a sweeter, gentler way.
I will say that it does seem to kick my gentleness into overdrive.
We've seen it over and over in our marriage. In fact, we've even experienced the healing that can come from this type of bond. We'll cover it in a future episode, but did you know that sex can help heal a marriage? God designed sexual intimacy for the purpose of strengthening that bond between a husband and a wife. So it actually has a God-given purpose and impact on our relationships. And you know, it's much more than sex that your husband needs, even though that covers a lot in this area for him. But general affection is powerful too.
So true.
Physical touch, it's all crazy important to your husband and meets a lot of the needs that we've discussed today.
So this list doesn't cover everything, and we knew it wouldn't. There are plenty more that could be added here, and these things really do apply to women just as much as they do to men. But we believe these 5 things are very common needs of men in their marriages. Without a doubt, they're the things I need most from LeAnn.
And like everyone, I succeed and I fail, but I do strive to meet his deepest needs because of the love I have for him. And I believe that God has called me to put his needs ahead of my own, and so I want to. 1 Corinthians 13 is called the love chapter because it paints this beautiful picture of what true love looks like when it's fleshed out. Well, verse 5 says that love doesn't seek its own. So true love doesn't mean that we make sure our needs are met, but that we work to meet the other's needs ahead of our own. That's not easy, but we hope that we've given you some practical ideas of ways to meet your husband's needs. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you will please comment and just let us know maybe some other needs that your husband has that we didn't share today, or if you have some other practical ways that you have found work in your marriage. And also, if you'll like and subscribe and help us as we're getting started with this new project, we would love that. We would really appreciate that. So again, we'd love to hear from you. Comment, like, subscribe, all of that.
And hey, be sure to catch the second part of the series next week when we'll talk about the 5 most important things a wife needs from her husband. Until then, remember, you can do anything together.